This is the POCO F5 Pro, a phone that launched as the Redmi K60 in China. Now in India, POCO's only launched the regular vanilla POCO F5, which beat it up is a phone that launched as the Redmi Note 12 Turbo in China. This is confusing. Anyway, is this POCO F5 Pro a phone worth waiting for? Now I've used the F5 Pro as my primary for over a week, and in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you my thoughts, my experience with this phone. Is it worth waiting for, or did we already get the better F5? Hey guys, my name's Ash, you're watching C4E Tech, and let's find out in my review of the POCO F5 Pro. Pick up the F5 Pro and you'd notice it feels pretty nice in hand. The back, it's made out of glass, the phone's not too thick at 8.6mm, and with a weight of 202 grams, it's not too heavy either. The back curves at the edges, right onto the plastic sides. There's an IR blaster up top, also stereo speakers, no headphone jack. The SIM tray here, it can take 2 SIMs, no microSD support though. It all feels very familiar. Now to the back, this camera array, this is something fresh. Stacked sensors with sloping sides, but barring that, the build's pretty bland. And it's not just this white version either. They only offer this phone in one other color, black, and that has some carbon fiber design to the sides, but nothing too crazy. If you think about it, the cheaper POCO F5 has a more interesting design. Now while the phone might look boring from a design perspective, it does feel nice to hold and use. There's an IP53 rating, the glass back means you don't pick up scratches easily, there's even an oleophobic coating that keeps fingerprints away. It feels like POCO's gone for function over flamboyance with this one, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Now turn the phone around and you're greeted by this Gorilla Glass 5 covered 6.67-inch OLED panel. Just like the one on the POCO F5, this also happens to be a 12-bit panel with 120Hz refresh with support for HDR10 and Dolby Vision. So what's different here? What is the pro part of this display? Well, there are two major differences. First is the peak brightness. This one can go up to 1400 nits, which is higher than what the F5 can do. And the other is the resolution. Here we get a Quad HD Plus panel, so more densely packed pixels, a higher 526 pixels per inch pixel density. Also, this isn't really a display advantage per se, but for what it's worth, the fingerprint scanner is present under the display here, whereas on the F5, we had it side mounted built into the power key. As you can see, it's pretty responsive like you'd expect it to be. So guys, long story short, I like what POCO has done here. Whether I was watching videos with those stereo speakers or gaming and pushing that flagship chip to its limit, the display, it always delivered. Talking about the chip, it happens to be one of the main selling points of the POCO F5 Pro. Now technically, this phone sports a Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 SoC, but calling it a 8 Plus Gen 1 might be a tad misleading. Let me explain. Now these are the specs for the 8 Gen 1 and the 8 Plus Gen 1. Now keep in mind the 8 Gen 1 was built on Samsung's 4nm node, while Qualcomm switched to TSMC for the 8 Plus Gen 1. Now the 8 Plus Gen 1 on this phone, on the POCO F5 Pro, it was manufactured on TSMC's 4nm node, but it has the exact same core split up as an 8 Gen 1. So for all intents and purposes, this is an 8 Gen 1, but a TSMC manufactured 8 Gen 1. But they actually call it 8 Plus Gen 1, and therein lies the mislead part I was talking about. Now guys, this is just a little fact I wanted to share with you because it doesn't really make a lick of a difference with day-to-day use. Performance still remains top-notch. Even with heavy use, the POCO F5 Pro didn't get too hot. POCO's cooling solution seems to have worked, but they don't really want us to test this. Because this is again one of those phones where POCO, Redmi, Xiaomi, they kinda stop 3D Mark from being run, so they blacklist the app, which is kinda stupid if you think about it. Anyways, with day-to-day use, MIUI 14 for POCO built atop Android 13 ran smooth. I didn't face any stutter or lag in my time with the F5 Pro. There was a lot of bloat at first boot that I had to manually uninstall, but once I cleaned it up, the user experience was quite good. That said, this still is MIUI, though it's MIUI for POCO, it's still MIUI at the heart of it, so keep in mind you're gonna have to tinker around a little bit, enabling permissions, stopping the battery saver from killing important apps and so on. Now this chip here, it's been paired with 8 or 12 gigs of LPDDR5 RAM and 256 or 512 gigs of UFS 3.1 storage, and all this is kept up and running thanks to a 5160 mAh battery. Now the battery life on the F5 Pro, I'm gonna call it very good. Though in comparison, the POCO F5 or the Redmi Note 12 Turbo that I tested fared about 10-15% better. Now just like with that phone, POCO includes a 67-watt wired charger in the box. This lets you get from 0 to 50 in just 15 minutes and a full charge in a little over 45 minutes. Now the pro part here is the fact that the F5 Pro, it supports wireless charging, something the F5 cannot. With a max speed of up to 30 watts supported, you can charge this from 0 to 50 in about half an hour wirelessly. Now while the camera array might look unique, it's just that. It just looks unique because these are the same damn sensors, the same damn setup we got on the POCO F5. Now, if you'd seen my review of the F5, you'd know the cameras were probably what I liked the least about that phone, which was fine for its price segment, but given the F5 Pro is a little more expensive than the vanilla F5, the cameras, they do feel like a bit of a letdown. Now they aren't bad. As you can see, as long as there's enough light, the primary 64 megapixel OmniVision sensor produces beautiful images, well detailed with accurate colors and decent dynamic range. It's only under low light conditions that you start to see the performance dip. Images were a little too soft for my liking. There are definitely phones with better cameras, phones that perform better for low light shooting at this price point. Now there is one difference from the POCO F5 though. The Pro, it can shoot 8K 24 FPS and even 4K 60. I guess this is why POCO disabled 4K 60 on the F5, though the chip on it did support it. OIS here definitely helps keep the footage stable. Now the secondary is once again an 8 megapixel Sony IMX355 paired with an ultrawide f2.2. It's okay, nothing to write home about. The third sensor is a 2 megapixel macro, which we are gonna continue to pretend doesn't exist. Now for selfies, we get the same 16 megapixel sensor and it does a decent enough job. Skin tone's fine, reasonably good dynamic range, crisp photos with reasonably good edge deduction for portraits. Selfie video, as always, is capped at 1080-60. Guys, now before we jump to pricing, there's a little something I want to talk to you about. Now, I've been reading a lot of reports of POCO phones facing certain motherboard issues. I've been seeing more and more users report these issues on their POCOs. Now yes, hardware failures are disappointing, but then again, they aren't unheard of. We've seen it in the past. What is very disappointing here is the way POCO's been handling this issue. They've kind of been avoiding taking ownership of it. I mean, if you see this, they've increased the warranty to 2 years. Yes, but that's only for new phones that they actually wanna sell today. For older phones, barring that 6-month extension on one model, they've completely ignored the issue. It's stupid. It's like, we messed up. Yes, we messed up. But yeah, come give us your money again. Trust us, this time we're gonna give you extra warranty. How does that make sense? Fix the existing phones with issues. Increasing warranty for old models would make sense. Instead, they're kind of brushing it under the rug by offering extra warranty for the new ones that are currently on sale, the ones that they want us to buy. And anyway, warranty is only one part of the issue. Guys, yes, we all want to maintain our phones in pristine condition. When we are getting rid of our phones 2 years after use, we still want to say, hey, it's in almost as good as new condition. Yes, that is the intent. But with use, there comes wear and tear. A bit of a scratch here, a ding there. That's gonna be normal for most people. And there have been more and more reports of POCO rejecting warranty because the phone has a ding here, a dent there. I mean, how does that actually make an impact on the motherboard kind of failing? If there's water damage, yeah, sure, go ahead, reject warranty for it. But then, hey, my phone has a dent to the side, so POCO service rejected warranty. I've been seeing so many of these tweets, so much of this on social media. I really hope POCO changes and starts to actually do right by the customers. But till then, no matter what POCO phone I'm covering, I'm always gonna say, take this with a grain of salt. There is gonna be a risk of motherboard having issues and POCO not addressing it. And with that, let's talk price. The F5 Pro is priced about 40% higher than the F5 in markets where both have launched. So if POCO decided to bring this to India, you should expect a price of around 40 to 42,000. Now the F5 Pro, if the motherboard holds up, is an excellent phone. But most of what it offers over the F5 to me are things I can live without. Wireless charging, the glass back, 8K video, a higher resolution panel with a higher peak brightness, the very slightly higher performance. These are all nice to haves and not must haves. And in fact, this is a two-way street. There are things the POCO F5 does better than its Pro brethren. Now, it has a headphone jack, which this phone doesn't. It's got slightly better battery life and it's slimmer as well as lighter. So given that that phone does exist, paying 40% more for the F5 Pro doesn't seem to be a good idea. Now, don't get me wrong, if any of those things that I've just said seem to be important enough for you, the F5 Pro, you could still get it as long as the motherboard permits. It's a good phone, but it just can't match the price to performance, the sheer value proposition that the Poco F5 is, the vanilla Poco F5 that is. And that kind of takes the sheen of this a little bit. So what do you think? Would you choose a Poco F5 Pro over a F5? Are you hoping Poco launches this phone in India? Or do you feel there is no need for an F5 Pro in a market where the F5 already exists? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And with that, we are at the end of today's review. Thumbs up, thumbs down based on whatever you felt about it. Subscribe, turn on notifications, hit that bell icon if you haven't yet. Thanks for your time, thanks for watching. Until next time, my name's Ash. You've been watching C4E Tech. And I'm signing off for now. You guys have a great day. Bye-bye.